This one's gonna be a very interesting videos. Yeah. 30 things only OG ARK players will remember. Well, we're gonna see how much of this I will be able to remember. Because while I haven't played ARK in a couple years, I have played for a long while. I don't remember when it was I first started playing ARK. It was when I was still in middle school when I did. I was in my last year of middle school whenever I first played ARK. So that was I gotta look back at the time. Pretty sure it was all the way back in 2017 because I know I played it before the game came out like officially and everything. Whenever it got out of its what was it, early access phase, yeah, because that's what the game stayed in for like a while back whenever it first released in 2015. It was a early access phase pretty much, and then it wasn't like officially released and stuff until 2017, I believe, yeah, which or at least that's what I saw from here. So yeah. And that was interesting. So yeah, whenever I first played, the only other maps you could play besides the island was the center and Scorched Earth. And then Ragnarok came, and then Apparition, and yeah, so on and so forth, yeah. I had a lot of fun playing this game, and I hope to have more fun playing this game in the future, too, because I'm really looking forward to it. Playing this game some more, I really am, because I have missed this. The last time I played this was like about, it was whenever, what was that, what was it called, Four Door? Yeah, I stopped playing whenever 4 Door came out, because a lot of busy shit happened in life, and then, yeah. But my life isn't so busy now, because I don't have a bunch of bullshit personal drama that I don't need to be involved in at all. Yeah. So, yeah, that's neat. Anyways, without further ado, let's go into the video and see what all this Ark Veteran, if I can call myself, can I call myself that? I don't know. Let's see if this possible Ark Veteran and can remember about this game, or 30 things only I will remember, supposedly. Okay, I'm messing up this. I'm not redoing the intro. Let's just jump right into this now, shall we? All right, let's see what we got.
2017 was a weird year. Fidget spinners were all the rage.
Jeez, I need. Sorry, I had my volume down for something earlier.
2017 was a weird year. Fidget spinners were all the rage. Someone got famous for yodeling in a Walmart, and kids everywhere were enjoying Tide Pods as a snack. I don't really remember much from 2017, but one thing that I know that year for is the release of my favorite game ever, Ark Survival Evolved.
Oh yeah.
The version of Ark that was released in 2017 is far from the game we all know today. In this video, I'm going to take you back to the early days of Ark to reminisce about how far
what is this footage?
Today. In this video,
Bro, why is there just a brood mother walking around? And what map is this? Is this Ragnarok? I think this is Ragnarok. No, that or well, what was it again? 4 Door? Yeah, it's one of those two. It has to be.
I'm going to take you back to the early days of Ark to reminisce about how far the game has come. So sit back, hop on the nostalgia train, and enjoy. I'm going to list off 30 pretty substantial things that Ark's moved on from in its history, and at the end, I'll ramble off.
What was that one? There was another map that came out before 4 Door, though, wasn't there? Maybe it was that map. What was it called? It was it had the had the giant monkeys that you could tame. What were they? What was it called? I don't remember. I gotta find out. Damn, it was really just called Lost Island? Huh. It was just Lost Island. Okay. I had to look at Syntax channel to figure that out. Yeah, let's get back into this.
A list of 10 or so other funny smaller changes that have been made over the years. If I miss anything, make sure to leave a comment down below.
Yeah, one thing I will say what you want about this game. One thing you cannot say is that those trailers fucking slap. All right? They really do.
And I might include it in a part 2 in the future. The first thing I'm going to talk about is all the TLC dino changes. The TLC
changes were so fucking needed. Especially for, like, some animals, like the goddamn Spino, because last I remember, the Spinos fucking sucked before they got that TLC change. Once they got that TLC, those guys were awesome.
Just came in 3 main phases. Phase 1 consisted of the Procoptodon, Gigantopithecus, Dire Bear, Dire Wolf, and Rex. Phase 2 consisted
of... I'm so glad the Rex got a TLC too, because it was a major improvement from how it used to look. I mean, hell, just for anything that got a TLC. Except for the Parasaur. They gave the Parasaur new abilities, but they never changed the texture of it. Unless they changed it later, and I just didn't notice. No.
The Argy, Parasaur, Raptor...
I'm also really glad the Argy got a TLC too, because the RGs look so much better than what they used to look like. Like, so much better.
Arco, Spino, and Triceratops. And phase 3 consisted of the Mammoth and the Stego.
Oh yeah.
TLC patch...
yeah, they did do that. Yeah, I hate the fact that they didn't add more on that. And I was like... Because I was expecting the Carno and the Megalodon to get a TLC in that too, but it was just those two. And I was like, come on. Come on. Give us more. Yeah. And again, I haven't been paying attention to any of the updates that have been happening recently. Like, ever since Ascended came out, I haven't really been paying attention to anything, really. Yeah.
Just came to
I don't
Dinosaur.
know, maybe I should go make a video of reacting to all those trailers or something. I don't know. Maybe I should. Because I've seen some of them, but I've seen like two of like certain things that came out and I was interested. I don't know. I'll probably go look at it, see what's up.
And other creatures that became outdated from the game developing over the years. For example, the Rex. As they added more carnivorous creatures into the game, they decided they needed to make the Rex stronger, they needed to give it the roar, and they needed to make it look cooler because the original Rex just became outdated appearance-wise.
Yeah.
For the sake of this video not being 40 minutes long, I'm not going to go into in-depth detail on every single one of these creatures
I probably will.
listed off, but I will show a comparison here of all the creatures befores and afters, just to show you how big of a difference this really made. If you'd like another video in the future where I rank all these TLC changes, or even I rank creatures that need a TLC in the current age of the game, I'd be happy to make that. Just shoot me a comment down below and I'll go through them later. Another funny thing that the original Ark game didn't have was arenas for bosses. Yes, that's right. If you wanted to fight a boss back in the day, the boss would just...
Yeah, I didn't play around that time, but yeah, I definitely remember that the Broodmother would just spawn at the obelisk. And wasn't it just the Broodmother for a while too? Like, they didn't add the Megapithecus and Dragon for a while, despite having the dragon in the first trailer. Yeah.
Spawn in the overworld and you'd be able to
Or
fight...
did they spawn and I just never saw it? And then they add them in gradually too. Like, it was just the Broodmother, and then you were suddenly able to fight the Megapithecus and then the dragon, or were they both added in at the same time? I don't remember. Like, by the time I started playing, the arenas were in. So yeah,
fight it with any creature you wanted. No structure, nothing. So yeah, adding boss arenas was a huge benefit to the player. It made it just a lot more organized.
Sure shit wasn't a benefit for the fucking Megapithecus arena. Because, like, how many people remember losing their shit because they fell into that giant chasm in that fucking arena? Because I know I did. Yeah. I did, because of all the shit that kept falling fucking down there. Yeah. So, yeah, somehow I nor none of the people that I was playing with fell down there. And I was just like, huh, neat. Yeah.
It made the bosses glitch out a lot less. The other benefit is that you can't bring in just any creature to boss fights now.
Yeah.
Because back in the day...
Yeah, that's another benefit, because you can't bring just anything into the boss arenas. Like, you're not going to be able to get like 20 gigas and then go in and just straight up mow it down. Unless you're fighting the Titans in Extinction, because well, yeah. Then again, that only really helps for 2 of them. Yeah. And it doesn't really help much for the King Titan, but yeah, and yeah, like, they won't let you bring I don't think that there's also, and it's not just gigas and stuff. I think it's other stuff too. Like I don't think they'll let you bring in flyers, and I don't think they let you bring in thylacoleos too. I think, or was that for something else, or was that for like the what's it called, the manticore? Yeah, I don't know.
There was a certain creature that you could just tame a few of and fight any boss with ease. There was absolutely nothing to it. You didn't have to do any breeding or anything. It was straight up, tame this creature and you will beat the boss, no questions asked. Yeah. That creature was the mighty Giganotosaurus. Not only would fighting boss...
If it was still like that, you could also fight it with the Carcharodontosaurus. I probably did not pronounce that right, but yeah, the Carchas, yeah.
Bosses nowadays be overpowered with the nerfed gigas. Back in the day, these gigas were so much stronger. Imagine a wild giga's stats not being nerfed when you tame it.
They talking about the HP debuff. I heard that when you tame gigas usually have like 80,000 HP, but when you tame them, it brings it down to like fucking 15, whatever, so they can so you don't have a super overpowered thing. And so, like, if you have a tamed Giga, it's weaker than a wild one, and you most likely won't beat a wild Giga. But I heard that's the HP stayed normal when you tamed it, but now it doesn't do that, which, honestly, that's a pretty good change, honestly, whenever it comes to, like, PvP and stuff. But whenever it comes to fighting bosses and stuff, not so much. Yeah.
Back in the day, were stronger than that. There was still a taming nerf in effect, but the wild Gigas back in the day had 300 to 400,000 hit
Jesus.
points, and then when it was tamed, it had about
Okay, I didn't know it went up that fucking high. I thought it went up to like 80,000. Jesus.
double the amount they do now. They have made 2 changes over the years to rectify this issue, one being nerfing the Gigas, both the wild and the tamed versions, and 2 being you can't bring in super heavy creatures anymore to boss arenas. I think both of these changes were necessary. It was really fun destroying bosses with Gigas, but it took away a lot of the challenge from the game.
Yeah,
Speaking of boss fight improvements, they did make one more change over the years that I think can't go unmentioned in this video, even though it was pretty minor. The change I'm talking about is the Obelisk Terminal revamp. This one's pretty simple. They just made the terminals the way they are today. They used to be like the ones that are currently on the center and on Crystal Isles, and for some reason they haven't transferred the ones from center and Crystal Isles to the new ones yet. That's really annoying, by the way. They need to do that. Those old obelisks looked good, but the problem with them is there's so many holes you can get creatures stuck into. Actually getting all the creatures onto the obelisk to start a boss fight is a pain in the ass. Thank God they made this change. All right, switching gears now.
For real, because the one in the center pissed me off. It really did. But everything else was pretty much fine now. Just have a flat circle arena.
I'm going to talk about all the map changes that have happened. Firstly, the original map was missing the snow, redwood, and swamp biomes completely. They were obviously added pretty quickly, but take a look at what the map looked like before they were added. It just looks so wrong. Another thing that was funny on the island was the top of the volcano didn't actually have any lava or a tech cave entrance. It just had
it was just obsidian and metal and crystal.
A lot of metal and other resources that were really good for farming at the time.
You know, now that I think about that, I can only imagine what could have happened if someone had a base at the top of it, and then, you know, they add in the volcano update, and then what happened to the base. I'm actually curious as to what would happen with that. I'm curious as to what would happen. Or did it get destroyed naturally or something? I don't know. I guess I don't know.
That's right. When the game released,
is there anyone watching that has had such a thing happen that maybe want to comment? Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out.
It did not have a final boss. It only had the 3 island guardians: the Broodmother, the Megapithecus, and the dragon. When the tech cave was finally added, it also wasn't fully.
Yeah, the tech cave didn't have a boss at the end until the game was officially released. Yeah, it was just a tech cave. You got through it, and then it showed a cutscene, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Complete even after that point, because the Overseer fight wasn't added till months after the tech cave was introduced. Originally, the tech cave was the final boss of the game. Honestly, if you're going through it the way the game intended, the tech cave is still harder than the Overseer fight anyway.
True.
Another major map change that happened was to Ragnarok after its release, because originally Ragnarok didn't.
Oh yeah, Ragnarok did get an expansion. Yeah, I didn't remember that. I never actually played on Ragnarok that much, if I'm being honest. I usually the usual times I did play on Ragnarok is whenever me and some of my buddies on Xbox would just fuck around in creative mode and just cheat stuff in, and had a lot of fun times doing that. Oh jeez.
Have any of the desert, and the map was completely cut off, and the only thing you could see on the border was the beginning of the desert. People speculated a lot of things, like they were going to add certain mechanics to the desert. I think they were talking about tornadoes or something. I don't really remember exactly what it was, but there was a lot of rumors going around. They never ended up
I don't know what they were talking about, but I know they got like a windstorm that doesn't seem to do shit. Yeah.
Adding any of those new game mechanics, but it was good they added the desert in anyway. It just makes the map look a lot more complete, and the red drops are a really nice touch.
Oh, yeah.
One final thing I want to mention about maps is that during the first Winter Wonderland event, it covered the entire map in snow. This had some pretty funny game repercussions too. There was mammoth spawning in South Zone 2. Admittedly, it was a lot more chaotic.
That is true. I saw that happen with one YouTuber who was playing Ark. It was just like, oh lord. And it's like everywhere was freezing, and I'm like, why would they do this?
But I just found a lot more fun in going around the snowy
I still wasn't playing it at the time, but still, I was watching people play it.
Map than there being Christmas drops coming overhead and a gotcha wearing a hat. Speaking of the sky, one more change they made is in the sky during the nighttime, there used to be pretty much nothing there. It used to be pretty much just pitch black with a couple of speckles for stars. Now there's an entire galaxy overhead. I'm not really sure what you call it, but it looks great. Another change with things in the sky was
beautiful aesthetic in the sky, I guess. Yeah, that I did not know. So yeah, because used to fly to 50-50.
How they coded the Quetzal to work when the game originally released. Back in the day, if you were taming a Quetzal, everybody had the same advice. Be ready to fly to the coordinates 50-50. I'm not sure why they decided to do this in the game code, but it definitely made taming Quetzals a little bit
that's
more.
something I have not heard of at all. No. I just knew that they were always a pain in the ass to tame. Although I did find a really fun way to actually tame them pretty easily at one point, and that was just basically using a snow owl. You just get a snow owl, freeze it, and it actually drops down and stays like walking around on its arms, unless they patch that. But I figured that out whenever I was hunting one down in Valguero once, and yeah, I was on a cluster server, by the way, and that's why I had a snow owl in Valguero, by the way. So yeah, but yeah, I just did that and it came down and I was like, huh, neat. Because I just wanted to test it out because I just saw one flying and I was like, here, I'll just test it out. Froze it and then it froze it, went down, and yeah. Snow, if you really want to tame a Quetzal really fucking easily, snow owl's the way. Yeah.
More bearable. Especially
unless there's a better way that I haven't heard of yet.
At a time when chain nets and harpoon nets weren't really a thing. It makes it just a little bit easier. It was very difficult back in the day to actually tame these things. They were quite a pain in the ass. One other thing that was a pain in the ass back in the day was building. Don't even get me started on the building mechanics that were a thing.
Yeah. No need. No. Don't even get me started. That is one thing I've heard is that have been massively improved about Ark Ascended is the building. And based on the Neebs gaming videos I've seen it looks good, and I can't wait to see what kind of shit I can do in that, because one of the things I like about Ark is all the building I could do, and it's like, I loved building shit in there. Granted, I wasn't always able to build good shit, or, a lot of shit at times, and building was, a pain in the ass at times, because, you have to get the resources for it and everything, but it was still fun. I found it fun, and it was nice. Especially whenever I could build like a really nice base for my buddies and everything, because I was the only one that knew how to build something that wasn't a box. Everyone else would just build a giant box. I wouldn't. No. So yeah.
In 2017. The worst part of it was that you couldn't pick up any structures.
Oh, yeah,
I just remember back in the day the feeling of placing a tech replicator in a place that wasn't exactly.
Yeah, that pissed me off so much. That's I actually, whenever I made a server for Survival Evolved, I went through so much bullshit to figure out like how to work a thing that I found a way where I can make it so that you could pick up stuff anytime you want without a mod or anything. And it was just like, it was like a, I don't know what it was like a pickup timer, because like they added in a timer for whenever you place stuff down, you can pick it up after like 30 seconds it's been placed down. I found a way to just make it infinite, and you can just pick it up whenever, like pick up anything whenever. And holy shit, did me and my friends love the hell out of that.
Where you wanted it to be, and then giving up and completely redesigning the base because you didn't want to have to farm the element back.
Yeah, that sucks too.
Back.
I hated having to do that, because you destroy it, and then you have to get more materials and everything, and it sucked even more if you ever did it with element stuff too, because good lord. Because while it was cool to build element stuff, god, is it a fucking hassle.
Shocking part about the
build, you need so much rare material just to build all that. You need a shitload of metal, crystal, polymer, black pearls, and like element too. Which, that's probably the hardest thing to get out of that. Well, actually, that could also be black pearls in some cases. I don't know. It depends on what map you're on and everything. But yeah, it's... Christ.
Building thing too is they made a lot of these quality of life changes back in the day, like in the first year or two, but the building changes took like 4 or 5 years to come into play, and at that point I was completely sick of building and had always given that responsibility to somebody else I was playing with. Next, I'll talk about all the crafting changes that have happened. First, I'll talk about the distinction between crafting speed and crafting skill. Crafting speed used to be a thing that you could pump on your character, and literally all it did was increase the speed you crafted things with manually. This did nothing. It was
yeah, that's all. It was literally a useless stat to put anything into. But then they added in skill, and well, I'll let him explain.
The most stupid thing to upgrade ever. Nobody ever did it, because why would you? Nowadays, if you upgrade that stat, it increases your crafting skill.
And then this is a nice shotgun. Like, this is a very nice shotgun. They're in 1.1% damage and 2,000 durability. Oh yeah, that is a really nice shotty. And you can get that shit out of what some people would do is that they would take a mind wipe tonic to them, which would basically reset all your levels and stats, and they would put every single level into their crafting skill, and then they would just craft like shit with really good blueprints just to get even better stuff. Like, and you'd have this crafting skill bonus right here that would tell you and everything. So yeah, and it was a really nice touch.
Which makes...
And I don't know how true this is, but I also heard the more points you have in crafting skills, some things do get built quicker too. I don't know how true that is, but that was something I heard.
For example, crafting blueprints get better quality items, and it does increase the speed you craft with as well. It's really a pretty good thing to upgrade sometimes. You can fully mind wipe, get all your stats into crafting skill, craft a bunch of blueprints with resources you pre-farmed, and then mind wipe back to get your normal stats, and it actually has a use inside the game. Another...
Same. Yeah, I'll do that all the times for weapons and saddles and armor and shit. Yeah, and it actually really fucking helps. Significantly. And granted, it is still a chance thing where you get like a small boost and a big boost, but when you get that big boost, oh boy, does it pay off.
Another major change was they've changed the HUD and the UI for the game a million times. This is what it looked like when the game originally released, and this is what it looks like now. The difference is...
I only experienced one HUD change, and that was I don't remember. It was whenever they changed into the blue, went from black to blue, and then everything up. And I'm not gonna lie, I like the HUD change. I like it anyways.
Pretty noticeable. I don't really know why they changed it a million times and kept tweaking with it. I don't think it changes the gameplay that much in the slightest. It's sort of a mixed bag for me.
Well, considering what it was at first, I honestly find the new one a lot easier to manage and compared to the last one. But that's just me.
Really care that they changed it, but it's definitely something to note. Another thing Ark developers changed is they increased the stack size of items and the slot capacity that crafting stations had. Yeah, this is just a quality of life thing. The bigger the stacks, the bigger the size of the crafting area.
That was pretty nice. And even though they did that, I still went in the server settings and increased the stack multiplier. And then I got even more pissed off when I found out it doesn't stack some things, and I had to find a certain code for that. I was a bitch trying to figure out how to figure that out with like wyvern milk and shit. I think the hardest one to find was how to do that with nameless venom, because Jesus Christ, I could not find the code for that for shit for the longest time.
There it is. Thanks, Wildcard. Another funny thing is that when the game initially released, riot armor wasn't a thing, so flak was the strongest option, and you could only craft it inside of a fabricator. Also, the sound that was made while the crafting was taking place inside of a thing was so different. It was pretty nostalgic when I heard it for the first time. This is what it used to sound like.
Oh yeah, it did sound like that.
They also changed the combat music. The combat music was actually used universally inside of the original game. They didn't have different tones for different types of engagements or different times of day. This is what it used to sound like, though.
I'm pretty sure it was exclusively this theme, and then they have like one for, well, like you just said, different times and areas.
Alright, now is probably the right time, just continuity-wise, for me to mention the biggest change Ark has ever made. This change was the addition of cryopods. Cryopods changed Ark.
Cryopods, love them. And if you don't know what they are, they're basically Pokeballs.
Forever. They made such a positive impact on the game that when Ark Ascended came out, they had to bring cryopods back significantly earlier in the timeline than the Extinction release because players just wouldn't play the game if they didn't have this quality of life feature. Back when Extinction released...
Yeah, we've been spoiled by the cryopods. That does not surprise me in the least bit. Like, the cryopods were such a good addition. Like, everyone loves them. Yeah. Like, how could you not? How could you not love the cryopods? They're nice.
And cryopods came out.
And it also just helps for a lot of stuff too, like just getting stuff in and out of small areas and everything, and transportation too. The only thing I didn't like was whenever you had to take them out, the cooldown timer you had for that. I fucking hated that, but you know, it was better to wait the 5 minutes between every cooldown instead of, you know, throwing out all your Rexes and then having to wait, you know, a goddamn hour for them all to wake up. Because if you throw them out before the cooldown timer runs out, they basically go unconscious, and you gotta wait for that to go out. So yeah, which takes a long fucking time, by the way, if you couldn't notice.
I knew players who exclusively bought the map just to go over and unlock the engram for cryopods. Yeah. That's how important they are. Yeah. Here are a few problems that cryopods solved for players that played before they came out. 1. fitting creatures into a base was almost impossible for alpha tribes unless you had a huge area. It really limited the amount of places you could actually build in.
Yeah, like the amount of giant boxes built just to fit in all your dinosaurs and everything was crazy. Now you get your cryo fridges and you just slap them right in there and then you're pretty much done. So yeah.
Because you needed to have creatures out at all times for every single line you were breeding. It was almost impossible to transport certain creatures inside of areas. Here's an example. If you're in a cave, how are you ever going to keep water creatures for half the caves in the game that don't have underwater areas? You literally can't. You have to keep them in cryopods, or you have to make a separate base entirely just to have an underwater area. 2, for smaller tribes, you couldn't hide away in rat holes if you wanted to keep creatures. You literally couldn't build creature lines because there just wasn't room. These rat holes are too small to have anything that's of relevance to the PvP side of it.
I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hate rat hole users. I don't like the people that go in there in rat holes, but at the same time, I understand why, especially with PvP. But and I just don't like the rat holes. But I did like what some people were able to do with them, but I still just did not like the rat holes. But it definitely was a helpful for rat hole users, though.
The game. 3, for any player that plays the game, it's extremely laggy to have 300 creatures.
Yes, it was. And sometimes extremely laggier even before 300.
Creatures out at once, all breeding, all wandering around. 4, transporting creatures was almost impossible. Imagine living on a plateau. How the hell are you going to get a Rex up there? You just aren't. Very few players have the patience to build an entire ramp just to get a creature up a mountain. I could go on and on. I'm not going to bore you. You guys understand. I'm sure you can imagine it if you weren't playing at the time, or if you did play at the time, you probably have some PTSD looking back. But yeah, cryopods.
Yep. And you know what? Sometimes I still build ramps. Sometimes I do.
To the best edition Ark's ever made. Moving on. Let's get into the changes that affected breeding, taming, and cooking. First of all, when you were breeding creatures back in the day, you couldn't
he's about to get to it.
Just enable mating in the wheel. You had to enable wandering and let them walk around. And if they walk...
Yeah, and I fucking hated that. I fucking hated that feature where you had to put them on wandering just for them to fucking mate. I fucking hated that. Them adding in just a mating feature was so damn good. It was so good. Because what you had to do before was you had to enable both the dinosaurs you were about to breed on wandering, and you had to put them inside of a small box so they can't wander away from each other, because they wander way too far away, they don't breed. Because, to breed, you need to be at a certain close proximity as, breeding usually does. Yeah. Unless you breed asexually, but nothing does that in this game. Or at least nothing I know of. No.
Walked too far away from each other in that time period, the mating would reset to 0%, which was a complete pain in the ass, because there was no way to keep them stationary. You'd have to make an entire box around them just for the breeding pen alone. In regards to food, there were 2 major changes that were made. The first is that rare mushrooms didn't used to give you a blindness debuff, so they were the best food source in the game.
Yeah, the food changes they made with the rare mushrooms and rare flowers were both good and bad, because they actually served a purpose, and, well, they made it so you can't have rare mushrooms. Instead, they actually, it doesn't get you drunk, it just makes you blind for a bit. Like,
it was quite the jump scare when I came back on after they nerfed the rare mushrooms and ate it like normal, and I just became blind immediately. I freaked out. I thought I got knocked out or something for a second. I still really wish they brought these things back. They were really convenient to be OP because they were so abundant all the time. Yeah. Oh well. The other food...
It's really easy to get rare mushrooms. Like, that's why most people got it, because how easy they got them. And sometimes people still eat them. They just eat them, and it's like, all right, wait for the timer. Then it doesn't completely blind you, so, some people just go through it. I know I did a few times.
Food change that happened is, in the early days of Ark, fish actually just drops normal raw meat.
True.
When they switched it to fish meat, it had implications for kibble crafting and a few other minor things. It wasn't a huge change, but it definitely impacted gameplay enough for me to add it on this list. Speaking of kibble, that's actually the next major difference on our list. In 2019, Ark switched the kibble system completely, changing it from having 1 kibble per...
switched it for the good.
Creature to having general kibbles based on the size of the creature. Before the change, every creature in the game had a specific type of kibble that it liked. This required you to have
I never did kibble because of that shit. Like, you'd have to get, the eggs of a certain dinosaur, a lot of them, and then to make a kibble out of it, and it only worked for 1 dinosaur. Now, you get the new kibble system where it just works based on size, which is a shitload better than the bullshit that we had before. Yeah. Once they did that in, I actually started doing kibble. And it was actually kind of fun doing it that way. Yeah.
A lot of farms to produce unfertilized eggs with no cryos in the game to store creatures that you didn't need currently. One example of this is with Titanoboa Kibble in the old game. You needed to get it for one of the important tames, I forget which one, and you couldn't.
I think it was the Gigantopithecus, which is the monkey. I think that's what it was for. I'm pretty sure that's what it was for, yeah.
Tame Titanoboa?
And you can't tame Titanoboa. Well, he's like he just said, you couldn't tame Titanoboas back then. You can now, but you couldn't back then. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to take a bunch of wild Titanoboas, put them in like a giant fence or whatever, and pray to God they lay some eggs and don't despawn, and then try to get those eggs without them killing you.
So the only way to get the kibble was to make a wild boa farm, which was a pain in the ass to maintain. But yeah, just the sheer quantity of farms you needed to make to scale your way up in the tiers of kibbles for the higher level stuff, it was a complete pain in the ass. I'm really glad this system was changed.
Yeah.
The last change I'll mention under this category was how the taming process actually worked. Back in 2017, if you were trying to tame something, you wouldn't get a bar, you wouldn't get a tracker, you wouldn't get a torpor meter, you would get a percentage next to the name of the creature, and you would have to open its inventory and look at the stats to see what its torpor was at. I do like the new system more. It feels more advanced, it's easier to track stuff. I did like the sort of bare bones feel the old game had, but changes like this are just nice to have in the long run. For the rest of these changes, it's going to be more miscellaneous stuff.
It's really nice having a taming tracker on it too, where you can just, in case you forget where your tame's at, you can go and find it, because many times I've forgotten where the animal I was taming was at.
Here and there. I don't really have any more categories to group these changes into, so here it goes. First of all, let's talk about flyer nerfs. For a decently long stretch when the game was released, Ark's flyers were absolutely overpowered. Not only did they have exceptional stats, but you were also able to pump movement speed into these creatures. One of the most consistent PvP strategies back in the early days of Ark was to pump movement speed into a Pteranodon and just dive everything. My only problem with when they nerfed this is they nerfed this and then they released the Managarmr into the game, which completely ruined the point of nerfing flyers in the first place because the Managarmr was just way too overpowered. Another funny thing about creatures is that when the game initially came out, the max level that they could be at in the wild was level 120 until the center was released, which is when
it took me a while to figure that out, because when I came in, it was still at 150, the max level for dinosaurs. I did not know it was set at 120 for the longest time, and I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, that was interesting.
They finally upped it to 150. In hindsight, that actually wasn't funny, but the next thing is funny. In the early days of Ark, the Mosschops was not a rideable creature.
True.
It did have the harvesting ability still, but it wasn't rideable, so it really wasn't a practical creature to use in the slightest. It sort of was just obsolete.
And going back to the flyer nerf, I did find out that you can actually, there's like a setting to enable putting levels into speed on flyers again, so that's neat.
Because of the inconvenience of using it, until Wildcard in an update accidentally made it a rideable creature without a saddle. And once they fixed that problem and they brought it back to not being rideable, they got so many complaints from the community that they just made it a rideable creature as a full-time thing. So that means if we ever want Wildcard to actually make an improvement to their video game in 2024, all we need to hope for is for them to accidentally make the improvement by themselves. Another nice change is the indicators for where your body is after you die. When the game first came out, it was nearly impossible to find where you died because there was no beacon and no death marker. The only thing that spawned was your dead body with the body bag. This made it nearly impossible to find your stuff after you died back in the day when the game was harder than it is today.
Yeah, that is like... That was such a good change, because like how are you gonna find your dead body or your bag holding your stuff when you died in the forest with hardly any distinct features, and like how are you supposed to find it? Like when everything's covered in bush and stuff, and you don't remember which spot you died in there. So yeah, adding in the beacons and everything was such a good change.
Now that I think about it, a lot of these changes just made the game a little less hardcore and a bit more appealing to the general public, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. One more funny change they made is that at the start of the game, there weren't Explorer notes for you to get the dossier entries, it just came from you killing or taming something for the first time. I actually don't really like this change.
I know about the taming one, I didn't know about the killing part. Okay, that's interesting.
It was cooler when you found something for the first time and then killed it or tamed it and you got the dossier pop-up. I do like the Explorer Notes as a way to progress the story and to boost your XP, but I don't think the Explorer Notes are really the thing that should be giving you the dossier entries. I think this is a better system before. The second to last change I'm going to talk about is the Ice Wyvern changes. The Ice Wyvern actually used to look exactly like the Lightning Wyvern reskinned.
Oh, yeah,
it's
I
kind
heard
of funny
that.
to look back on in retrospect, but yeah, I definitely prefer it how it looks now.
I remember that. And like the like it is such a good upgrade because like it just looked like the Lightning Wyvern, and now you got this beautiful bastard right here. Yeah, because this looks something like out of Game of Thrones.
With the spikes and the unique appearance. Good change. And last but not least, when you started creating a character back in the day, it didn't give you the automatic name of human. It used to randomize between the names Joe and Bob, and I just think this is hilarious. I had to put it in the top 30. I really wish they put this back. This is way funnier than just saying human. Well, those are the 30 changes that I thought were the most interesting from when the game initially released to now. I'm going to mention a few other things now just in a rambly format, just other funny things I noticed. Here we go. The Phoenix wasn't in the game on Scorched Earth's release. The obelisk colors weren't where they are currently. They were all rotated around. They used to have abbreviations for dinosaur names in the game, but they eventually removed them. For example, they used to call it a trike, now they call it a triceratops. They used to call it a bronto, now they call it a brontosaurus. The vaults used to be enormous, and now they're much more normally sized. When you were upgrading your character back in the day, it didn't tell you how many levels you had to upgrade, so you just clicked the buttons for upgrading stats until you ran out. You didn't know how many you had total. The map, the island, used to be called the Ark for quite a long time. I think there was 4 maps in the game before they changed that. Wild creatures used to have a purple word over their name saying mate boosted if they were mate boosted instead of the purple heart. When riding a pteranodon, it was super zoomed in compared to how it is now. Your peripheral vision was almost 0. It was really weird, actually. They changed how the dummies look. They used to look like just a normal weird scarecrow dummy that you use in a firing range. Now they look like a person. The crates that artifacts were in inside of the caves looked like completely normal drops. And last but not least, the Ascendant tier was not a light blue color. It was actually red before to match the highest.
Honestly, I kind of wish it was red still. It just looks better red.
Tier drop color, which is red in the overworld. I think this made more sense, honestly. I'm not sure why this was changed. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed going back through the game's history as much as I did. I had a pretty hard nostalgia trip throughout making this video, and I enjoyed making it quite a bit. I'm officially back from my break now and have a lot of videos planned. If you enjoyed this one and want to see more, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my future content, and hit the like button if you want me to make more videos about the nostalgic parts of Ark in the future. This has been Jase, and I'll see you guys next time.
That was a really good video. I very much enjoyed it, and I had quite a nostalgia trip in there. So yeah, that was really neat. I liked it. And yeah, I'm gonna go and end the video now. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, check out the original one, which will be linked in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.